Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. Now, this headline definitely caught my attention. I didn't think I'd wake up and see this today. It's from Daily Hodl. Could this XRP fork transform social media? Big data analyst considers the possibilities. And this article, again from Daily Hodl, it stems from this piece written by XRP community member Thomas Silkjaer, who is also a writer for Forbes, and when he writes for Forbes, it is about XRP, and he was, interestingly enough, an XRP community member first. And so it's always positive to hear that there are new articles from Thomas Silkjaer when it's on the Forbes platform, because there's a lot of Forbes content out there you may have noticed that maybe not so XRP friendly, though some certainly is. This particular piece from this Forbes writer and XRP community member was posted on his Coil blog, though, which he titled "Thought Experiment: Blockchain-Powered Social Media Platform." So I'm going to run through this and share with you what he's actually talking about here. And then there's an article about Bitcoin whale and how XRP whales have quote-unquote gone dark. But before going any further, if you would please delicately tap that like button, and if you are a fan of Ripple and XRP, well, you have most certainly come to the right spot, because this, the Moon Lambo channel, is an XRP-centric channel. We be talking about XRP every day, so go ahead and subscribe. You might not regret it, but no promises, of course. So let's go ahead and dig in here. I'll start with this. So here's what Thomas Silkjaer wrote. Could you fork the XRP ledger code and refactor it to work as a social media distributed ledger, introducing a new asset to drive the platform? Content visibility, content lifetime, accounts, reactions, and responses. And by the way, and I will get to this, he does end up touching on why fork the XRP ledger for something like this? Why clone it? And so here's how he started the piece off, just a few sentences. Under content lifetime subheading. Storage. Social media platforms generate a lot of data. Storage might be one of the biggest hurdles for social media to move to a blockchain. A blockchain should not be hosted in a big data center. It should be decentralized, remain ungoverned, and be easy for new participants to be part of. If all participants need to store all content forever, it would quickly be impossible to scale it. Even with sharding, the storage requirements would grow out of hand. Hence, looking to one feature that could solve this: content lifetime. Interesting concept, right? And so let me go ahead and jump here. And again, and here's how they start the piece off here on Daily Hodl. Big data expert Thomas Silkjaer says a fork of the XRP ledger codebase could serve as the backbone for a blockchain-powered social media network. And so, and then it goes on to read, if you make a post, maybe with a photo, the fee could be determined by the size of the post, in parentheses he writes storage requirement, and you could add to the fee to pay for a guaranteed lifetime. And every time people respond, share, or otherwise react, the lifetime will increase. If fees are burned, posting content, the network would eventually die. Hence, the fees in the network should be collected and redistributed, maybe to users based on account activity and nodes for storing content. And then Silkjaer explains that in order to achieve true decentralization, the ledger cannot be hosted in a big data center. Although he believes such a project is possible to build using the XRP ledger's memo features, Silkjaer says similar projects have struggled to gain traction. He believes the XRP ledger should remain a financial ledger, and says a fork is likely the better route there. And so it's interesting that he approaches all the things that would make this rather costly and difficult to scale without a content lifetime. So let me scroll a little bit lower in his piece he wrote here. So two subheadings I want to cover. The first one's titled Validators. Just as with the XRP ledger, the whole setup could be run by validators agreeing on transaction order. And of course, by the way, I'll say this before we read any further. Part of the reason the XRP ledger is potentially perfect for this, obviously, is it is freaking fast. And I don't know if you guys realize this. So I'm sure many of you do, but it costs fractions of a penny to conduct a transaction. So not literally free, right? But that was by choice. Conducting transactions on the XRP ledger absolutely could have been free. The only reason that there's a fee associated at all, which is actually a burn rate, is to prevent DDoS attacks, and that's it. Anyway, but so the piece continues. There would be no need for full history nodes, as content only lives for as long as it is funded in separate objects like offers, escrows, and pay channels on the XRP ledger. Storage demand would increase. Validators can vote on fees and reserves, as is the case with the XRP ledger. So next, here's the second subheading that I wanted to cover before wrapping up this part of the video. Why a fork? Why not the XRP ledger? We have seen attempts and initiatives in the past using the XRP ledger to drive some sort of social media / content sharing platform. However, attempts to do this are made on a false presumption that the XRP ledger history is, quote, a given and will always be available. However, the XRP ledger does not need history to work. History is a luxury and not a necessity. So, instead of using transaction memo fields for storing content, creating and modifying objects based on transactions will guarantee the lifetime of the objects for as long as they are not deleted. This could be introduced as an amendment to the XRP ledger like checks, introducing a new type of object. But the XRP ledger is a financial ledger, and mixing it up with something completely different would never meet the majority of validator nodes, in parentheses he writes, I guess. And so it's really basically what he was writing this up as. It's basically like a fun thought exercise. That's the way he was approaching it. It's not as if this is some sort of white paper, which he mentioned at the top of this piece. And so, he wanted to make that crystal clear. But it's fun to think through, and so I still appreciate, given the nascency of this particular technology, blockchain technology, it's fun to think through potential applications. But even more exciting than that, to me as an XRP holder, is just the fact that XRP is actually literally being used in commercial production today using Ripple's technology. XRP is today functionally a bridge currency, so it's not some sort of what if, some sort of fun potential scenario, a science experiment. In the real world, we already know XRP works. But even so, what else could you do if you were to clone the technology and position it just a little bit differently? And of course, this wouldn't be the first clone of the XRP ledger. There's a Stellar Lumens out there, and then there's a Casino Coin, for example. And I suspect there could be others, just because, frankly, XRP, just the consensus mechanism and what makes it what it is, pretty fantastic here. So anyway, just a kind of a fun exercise to run through here. All right, now here's a tweet from Frecky, who writes this. I'm keeping this one for future post. I have a feeling this won't age well. Hashtag XRP and XRP community. And then tagged me, ya boy, Moon Lambo. And so, what was he capturing here? There's a tweet from somebody on Twitter, or wait, was this Twitter? Or maybe this was a comment on... no, this looks like it's on YouTube, actually. I take that back. Somebody named Peanut King wrote, XRP don't make anyone rich. XRP $1 by 2026. Now, let me just say this. As far as the long-term viability of XRP, it's my entire investment thesis that utility matters will win the day. Of course, I say that endlessly, and I'm not going to stop because it's very important. But look, there are endless people out there that just don't believe that XRP is going to be worth a hill of beans even shortly into the future. And there are those out there that have been just been sharing all sorts of screen grabs of some of the craziness. Some of them dating back even to 2015 when, XRP will never be worth $1. Well, we already broke that one. So, it's fun to just track this stuff. It's mostly a bunch of trolls out there and it's kind of silliness. But no, and not financial advice because no financial background here, just to be clear. But I think XRP is going to be worth substantially more in the future than it is today. Otherwise, I wouldn't be willing to put a little bit of money into this on a regular basis, purchasing more XRP. But look, I think true use actually matters. All right, the Daily Hodl. 39 million, I'll just round it there, 39 million Bitcoin fortunes sent to exchange while Ethereum and XRP whales go dark. Although 2020 is well underway, many Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP whales appear to be on vacation. Oh yes, well-deserved vacations. Where do you think they're going? Somewhere aquatic, perhaps? Services that monitor large cryptocurrency transactions have reported relatively few large transfers in the new decade, with the exception of a massive movement that hit traders' radar on Friday. The on-chain intelligence platform Token Analyst is reporting a movement of 4,999 Bitcoin worth 39.6 million, which was sent to the crypto exchange Poloniex in a single transfer. So far, the firm says it has not been able to track down whether the movement is linked to a trader who may be looking to sell or if Poloniex is moving customer funds. I always wonder when these huge transfers happen. The biggest holders of Ethereum and XRP have remained practically silent so far this year, with two notable exceptions. Crypto thief who stole approximately 49 million in ETH from South Korean exchange Upbit in November continues to move funds to unknown wallets, according to Whale Alert. And then they go and talk about, of course, the XRP coming out of escrow, and that's the only notable transaction. Fine, but it's still interesting to me that within the last several days or so, whatever it was, XRP did lead a market rally. It seriously, I love seeing that, don't you? XRP started moving up, and then hours later, I think it was maybe about 12 hours later, Bitcoin responded. That used to not be a thing. That used to be impossible. So maybe we're heading in the right direction, even though Bitcoin, of course, does still lead the market. But anyway, that is it for this video. I am not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say. All right. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo!